Hi guys, I'm Espen Kraft, and I'm just sitting here playing around with my Sequential Circuits 6-Trak from 1984. I'm going to go through the features I find most interesting with this synth, and that's the arpeggiator, the sequencer, the stacking. This is a VCO, a 6-voice VCO synth, so it can actually sound very fat, especially in the Unison mode, and I'm going to show you some of that. Now this synth is a lot of fun, so let me take you through what we've got going. To the left there we can record sequences, arpeggiators, stacking, etc. I'll get back to that in a minute. In the middle we have the parameters list of what we can do with the synth. We have the controller section where we choose parameters and values, and we have the select buttons. The master volume, master tune, and the pitch and modulation wheel. At the back we have a mono output, we have MIDI in and out, and a controller foot switch, and that's basically it. And that means that all the sounds coming out of this will be in mono. Very authentic mono actually, but let's engage a stereo chorus. So by going through a Yamaha Rev 7 from the 80s with a classic symphonic chorus patch and some reverb, this synth really shines. You can build up sounds from sawtooths, triangle waveforms, or pulse width waveforms. You also have noise, and you have 3 full ADSR envelopes to shape your sounds. That, along with other parameters, makes this synth quite versatile actually, and not as limited as it might appear. You press the parameter button and change values according to the parameters list. Pretty usual for synths like this. So let's check out the filter. So let's solo the different waveforms and listen to how they sound separately. I'll just turn off all the 3 different waves you can use, and that should produce nothing actually when we press a key. Let me demonstrate that. Nothing, okay. So let's listen to the sawtooth first. That's parameter 10 and the value of 1. And let's check out the triangle. And these can all be combined freely, of course. And the pulse. But that can be controlled by pulse width modulation. So let's try that, parameter 13. Just some random values. Let's check out the noise generator as well. And let's check out the resonance. So this is an excellent synth to create sound effects like wind and laser blasts actually. But there's one more thing, the Unison mode. Every sound can be set to Unison, where you use all the 6 oscillators at once. Before we continue, I'd like to mention my sponsor for this video, PCBWay. I've been so lucky to have been working with PCBWay for a while. And in my studio I have lots of gear from independent boutique manufacturers, and they use custom-made circuit boards from PCBWay. You should definitely check out their website. I'll leave a link for you in the video description. A cool thing this synth has is Polyglide, a glide mode, basically meant to be used in Unison mode to get portamento, but I like to use it in poly mode. So this is no glide, but let's change that values. It cannot go up to 15, but let's increment it little by little. At higher values, it's quite random, difficult to control. But it sounds so cool. It takes about 10 seconds going through the 4 octaves in full value. The Arpeggiator, well, that has some cool stuff as well. It seems pretty basic, just up and down or a sine. But let's see. Let's try the up and down first. As you expect, in a sine mode, it just cycles through whatever keys you press first. In that sequential order, pun intended. But here's the cool part, and I actually used this in the demo song in the beginning. Let's do our arpeggiated part. And let's hold down those keys and press record. This is now basically a latch, nothing fancy about that, but here's the kicker. This only uses one voice. And now I can play chords on top of that without interrupting the arpeggiated part. I like this a lot. Setting the tempo to 0 makes this actually sync to incoming sync, a sync signal from the sequential drum track or another pulse. Check the manual for more info on that. Now the sequencer, this was the big selling point for the 6-track back in 1984 when it was released. You have 2 banks of sequences you can store. The total of notes you can hold in these 2 banks are about 800 notes. And you can overdub and erase tracks as you go along. So let's make one sequence in the bank sequencer B. To get the metronome going, I'm going to use my tom, press record, and sequencer B bank, and those 3 first track numbers. And the length of that first recording sets the length for this entire sequence. So I went out of record mode, and now it's saved. But now I want to overdub a new part on track 4. So I'll just turn on the sequencer again, and it will play back what I just recorded. So now I just choose another sound. And that's the sound I want to record. So all I do is press record and track number 4. And I can start recording wherever I want to. So I'm just going to wait for the start of the sequence. So that was the bass part. You cannot quantize anything in this sequencer, so it's all live. But let's do another part on track 5. And you'll recognize this from the demo track in the beginning of the video. So let's record. And that leaves me one track to play with, track 6, which is now empty. So I can either play live over this with a sound of my choosing, or record another sound in track 6, that slot. Very cool and very easy to sketch out ideas with this sequencer. I like it a lot, even today. But I can also change the volume for each of the tracks recorded. So this is another sequence I've made. I put that in sequence A, the A bank. And by holding down the track number and adjusting the track volume, I can now fade in and out or set the volume for each of the tracks as I want to mix them. The sequencer can also be synced to external clock if you want to, either over MIDI or by a clock pulse. Again, check the manual for the description to how to do this. So that was the sequencer. Now we come to the stack. And the stack is really up to 6 different programs stacked into one big fat patch. You have stack A and stack B. Let me take you through it. Okay, so let's say you want to have this patch in a stack, along with this one, and this one. And why not that one as well? And that one. To make up one glorious big fat patch. Well, just find out which patches you want to have into the stack. So let's go. Press stack, I choose stack B, press record, and track number 1. And that program is now at that place. That's the other patch I want to have going. Press stack B, record, and track number 2. That's another sound. Stack B, record, track number 3. And let's choose some other. That's 4 different patches. And that's the 5th. And these are the 5 first patches, all rolled into one big patch. Let's try the last one. That's the 6 patches. It's in Unison now, of course. So that's one way to use a stack. Another way, let's use stack A for this. And let's say I want to play chords. that chord on one key? Well, I've stored that same sound in different memory locations, tuned differently. So now I'm just going to assemble those different tunings into a stack. Stack A. Start with the first one, that's the C. And the second one is the E note. The third one is the G note, and that makes up the triad. And let's add a seventh in track number 4. And to really make the sound, the patch, the stack as fat as possible, I just duplicate a couple of the keys as well. So now many other synths from this era call this chord memory, but this is actually more flexible because you can assign keys into the stack and you can make those patches you combined any way you want to. Very flexible and a lot of fun. Like I said in the beginning, this is the perfect synth for me to find those vast, desolate landscapes, the music for that, the sounds for that, and everything in between. And it's a lot of fun to play. The track you heard in the beginning, well, that's available on Bandcamp. Check the video description for links, where I also go through more of my thoughts about this synth. As always, I'm Espen Kraft, and I am the 80s. Until next time, cheers.